Let's talk about a word we all think we know: charity. For centuries, its true meaning has been kind of lost. It's not just about giving spare change. It's actually a powerful, almost chemical way to deal with failure, both in ourselves and in other people. And trust me, it's way more revolutionary than you might think.
This quote right here really nails it. When you hear the word charity today, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's tax write-offs, coin jars, big, faceless institutions. It's become so impersonal. But originally, it meant something completely different, something deeply personal and world-changing.
And you can really see that disconnect right here. On one side, you have our modern idea, charity as a transaction. But its original Greek root, agape, well, that describes a dynamic, powerful love. It's not about covering up a mess to hide it. It's about acting like a chemical solvent that literally dissolves the problem.
So this brings us to the big idea for this whole explainer. There are two fundamentally different ways to cover a problem, a failure, a mess. You can either sweep it under the rug, or you can dissolve it with a solvent.
First up, we have the rug. Think of this as the cosmetic cover-up. It's the ancient version of a perfect Instagram filter. See, the goal isn't to fix the problem, it's just to manage how it looks. You hide the flaw, you suppress the truth, and in the process, you build up a massive amount of internal stress.
But then you've got the solvent. This is the chemical approach. It doesn't just hide the mess, it actually consumes it. It gets in there, breaks down the toxicity, and transforms the failure into something else entirely. The goal isn't a perfect exterior. It's real healing and the chance for something new to grow.
So let's break it down. The rug's goal is just to hide the flaw, usually through suppression. And the result is stress. Like we said, that perfect social media profile that's exhausting to maintain. But the solvent's goal? To transform the person through mercy and love. The result is actual growth. A good analogy is a forest fire. It looks like total destruction, but it's actually what clears the way for new seeds to sprout.
Now, you might be thinking this is just some modern self-help idea. But nope, let's jump back in time to see just how radical and powerful this solvent approach really was in the ancient world. Okay, picture this: a dinner party at the house of a religious leader who is absolutely obsessed with appearances. Suddenly, a woman with a reputation crashes the party and makes what everyone sees as a huge mess. She's weeping, pouring incredibly expensive perfume everywhere. The host is horrified. It's a scandal. But Jesus pivots. He doesn't see a mess to be hidden. He sees a transformation happening in real time, fueled by this wild, radical love.
Now, to get how shocking this was, you have to understand the culture. The ancient world ran on a shame-honor system. Your job was pretty much to expose someone else's failures to make yourself look better. So the idea of covering a sin with mercy, that wasn't just seen as weak. It was basically social suicide.
But this is where the script gets totally flipped. The argument Jesus makes is that this kind of mercy isn't weakness. It's the ultimate power move. Why? Because by refusing to play the shame game, you rob the sin of its power. You completely break the cycle of revenge and retribution.
So, okay, it's a powerful, ancient idea. But what's really wild is how this ancient wisdom is now being backed up by modern science.
So is this just a nice story, a piece of old philosophy, or is there something biologically real happening inside us when we choose the solvent over the rug? Well, it turns out there is. The rug brain, the one focused on hiding flaws, is constantly in a state of what scientists call cognitive dissonance. This spikes your stress hormones like cortisol and keeps your primitive lizard brain on high alert. But the solvent brain, the one that practices mercy, it engages the prefrontal cortex, the most evolved part of our brain responsible for things like creativity and growth. It literally flips a switch from survival mode to a state where we can actually heal.
And this lines up perfectly with something called the broaden and build theory. The idea is pretty simple. Negative emotions narrow our focus down to just the immediate threat. But positive emotions, like feeling truly accepted, flaws and all, do the exact opposite. They literally broaden our awareness and build up our psychological resources, giving us the fuel we need to solve problems and grow.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in real life? And maybe more importantly, what are the dangers of getting this wrong?
Let's use a classic example, the flaky friend. We all have one. So the uncovering approach is to shame them, call them out. The rug approach is to just pretend it's fine while you're secretly fuming. But the solvent approach, it's different. It's when you decide your affection for that person is more significant than their dysfunction. This doesn't mean you lie. It means you create a safe space where they can stop wasting energy on being defensive and finally use that energy to actually change. But we have to hit pause here for a really important warning, because this concept has been misused for centuries to enable horrible behavior, and that is a complete distortion of the original idea.
The crucial distinction is this. This love covers the person, not their bad behavior, their pathology. True agape love is actually deeply confrontational. It's the kind of love that says, I love you way too much to let you stay this way. It protects the person's soul, creating the safety they need to do the hard work of changing their actions.
So where does all this leave us? It really comes down to a choice. When we're faced with a mess, whether it's our own or someone else's, we have a few basic instincts on how to deal with it. The first instinct is basically just to hide it better. Buy a stronger lock for the closet. The second is the cynical instinct. Just burn the whole house down, pretend none of it matters anyway. But then there's a third way. The solvent instinct. To open the door, let the light of this transformative love hit the mess, and actually trust that it can be healed.
Because in the end, this powerful solvent-like love isn't about ignoring reality. It doesn't hide the truth, it tells a bigger one. It tells us that our failures, as real as they are not the most interesting or the most final thing about us. And the real question is, which truth are we choosing to live by?